morning. Thank you for joining us, Naomi. I'd like to welcome you to our entrepreneurship class, seminar on performing arts management. And I'll just let you take it from here, introduce yourself and what you do. And we'll be talking about the databases available for UNT students and faculty to do research and look for opportunities for funding for individual projects or group projects. I think this is going to be something very helpful for all students to be able to know, and faculty members too. So thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Welcome everyone who's going to be viewing this. I wanted to introduce myself first. My name is Naomi Wood and I'm in the Division of Research and Innovation, and I work right now in the Office of Grants and Contracts. And what we're doing is rolling out a database called Pivot that can help you filter opportunities to your needs. So whether you're a student or a faculty member or a postdoc or a staff member, this database houses and lists opportunities in such a way for utmost efficiency. So you're not filtering through things that we're not eligible for or that you're not looking for. So I'll get started. The URL is pivot.cos.com. And it's a database provided by the educational company ProQuest. I'm sure many of you have heard of ProQuest. They have a lot of products out there, lots of vendors. And it brings funding opportunities and scholarly profile systems together in one integrated package, basically. And what I've been doing is rolling it out to campus and asking everybody to sign up, create a profile so that everyone has access to not only the same funding opportunities, but to each other. They can view their CVs, what they've been working on in the past, their publications are all uploaded right there in one easy to access portal. All UNT community members have access to use Pivot. You can search for grants, contracts, fellowships, travel funds, conferences. It has everything housed in one spot. So like I said, you can sign up, get started. I'm already logged in. I'm going to have to contort myself. So here's kind of how it looks once you're logged in. It just gives you a brief overview of what's going on. On the left-hand side, it kind of gives you the most popular, the editor's picks, health, science, funding, news, humanities, and social science, keyword statistics. What we're going to do is just enter a keyword right now. So what keyword would you be looking for in this audience if you were looking for a grant or a funding opportunity? Anybody have anything?
Did you put music entrepreneurship?
Sure. If I can spell it. Entrepreneurship. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. 3 results. So, yeah, there's 3 results. We might want to broaden our search if this is not enough. And you can see how it's listed. Girl Boss Foundation grant, deadline $15,000. So it's displayed really nicely for you, so you can sort of look at it. If something looks interesting, you can track it. You can set it to active, which means it'll email you updates about this opportunity in the future. You can share it with colleagues and friends, or you can export all of these opportunities to an Excel spreadsheet and just share them with whoever, or compile them however you wish. So there's a lot you can do with this information in a very condensed way. Now let's look at one of these opportunities just so you can see how it's displayed. Artistic support grants, great. There's the website. The sponsor, St. Louis Regional Arts Commission. Upper $3,000 to lower $500 is the amount that they're giving you. The applicant type, individuals, early career, emerging in the field, or individuals mid-career. So that's basically saying like PIs or people who are already established in their fields, not necessarily graduate students. United States activity location, Missouri. So that's something that we would want to filter out instead of seeing this. That way you're not searching for grants in other states that would not be applicable to us. Look at all these keywords that are popping up. So when you enter a keyword in that search bar, it's going to match the algorithm here that's showing. Upcoming deadlines and notes. I created this note yesterday because I was presenting to the TAM students, and oftentimes they'll find a funding opportunity, but then they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to apply, they don't know who to contact. So I gave a list of information. Graduate students consult this person. Undergraduate students consult Dr. Duban. So this kind of gives them and you guys some tips on how to write quality proposals, who to contact first, and to get a solid application out there. So
How can we filter out the location?
let me show you. Let's go back to the funding tab. Let's do advanced search. And this uses Boolean search terms, kind of like in the library. So let's start with music. And then if you type in or, that means you're broadening it. It can say this word or this word. If you say and, you're saying I want both of these words in this search criteria. So first let's just look for music. And we know that's going to give us thousands of opportunities out there. So let's go ahead and narrow it down. What would you want to exclude it by? Would you want to exclude it by activity location? Or say we don't want to see anything outside of Texas?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess that would be a good exercise.
So we can say, how about we say unrestricted? That means you can work at your home institution. And that way we're not seeing opportunities based in Colorado or other places. Let's look at funding type. What would we like to see? Let's say we would like to see artistic pursuits, dissertation or thesis, just for this group, I'm using this as an example. Meeting, conference, or seminar. Some of you may be postdocs. Let's look at prize and awards and research. Let's just see what it has to pull up in those areas. 59 results. So it's a bigger list. If you want to expand it even more, or I'm sorry, let's say you want to narrow it even more, down here it says exclude opportunities. You can get rid of stuff that you don't want to see. So let's say you don't want to see anything that has to do with, let's say funding time. You don't want to see contracts and tenders. You don't want to see equipment, facility. This is really not in the scope of what you're wanting to do. You don't want to see visiting personnel. Let's get rid of all that. Let's see if it narrows it down from 59. Oh, I forgot to enter the keyword music, so that's why I pulled up 11,400. But you get the gist. If you want to narrow it, you can exclude criteria. If you want to open it up, you can include more criteria. It's a really robust funding database that allows you to search for what you're looking for so you don't waste a lot of time. Is there anything else you would like me to do in the funding tab before I move on to profiles to show you? Oh, I did want to show you one more thing. Let's click music again, or let's type in music again. Music grants, Presser Foundation. Let's open this one. On the right-hand side, it shows you who in your institution, based on the profile criteria, it matches. If you want to work with a faculty mentor or other collaborators within the institution, this is going to give you their names.
Oh, these are people who have won these awards?
No, not awards, but people who have the same keywords in their search criteria.
Oh,
so
okay.
they're potential collaborators on a proposal, or a potential mentor.
Or looking for the same thing that you're looking for.
Yes, and who have put that keyword in their profile. So music is in their profile, or music entrepreneurship. And that list will obviously get narrower once you use those several keywords. Another, go ahead.
So that will allow you to contact some of them if you want to?
Yeah. So you can click on it, and it shows you who those people are from within your institution. Alan McClung. Click on him. It shows you his profile, his personal website, his publications, publication page, expertise, affiliations, and then you can email him by clicking right here. So we're trying to get these profiles as up to date as possible so that students have an accurate measure of who's doing what on campus. And that's an ongoing project where we're updating keywords and trying to get it more robust. See, he doesn't have any of his keywords down here, which hopefully we can get most faculty to update them, or we'll update it for them. So let's go back to where we were. Another nice thing, if you find a grant or a foundation or travel funds that you're wanting to apply for, and you're not sure about the language in the abstract or in the solicitation, there's the contact person, the phone number right there. You don't have to dig anymore. It just, boom, provides it. So you can literally call that person and say, hey, what do you mean by this? Or, hey, you said funding for the... So I call them all the time. They're very good about getting back to you because they want to field those questions. They want to clarify. We even have senior faculty who've been PIs in the past who were intimidated by calling program managers. And this basically removes the barriers and says, hey, here's the contact information for that person. Go ahead and reach out. It's a whole new world. Being able to reach out directly to the person that is funding that opportunity is a pretty incredible tool. So it makes it a little more competitive because more universities that adopt Pivot or adopt databases like this, which so far there's not a database like this out there. There's a couple that let you search for grants, but it doesn't allow you to do the profile matches and algorithms and collaborations. Yes?
I have 2 questions about searching.
Sure.
Because I was playing around with it a little bit yesterday.
Yes.
And when I put in my citizenship as American, because I only wanted grants that I could actually apply for, there are still things coming up from Europe, and so does that mean I'm eligible?
Yes. Okay, so students who are not citizens are protected under the institution usually to apply for grants, if that makes sense. The institution and being a student here allows you to apply for things that that maybe you wouldn't as an individual outside of that institution. So let's say you're a nonprofit, or a person trying to find a grant for yourself. They may have eligibility requirements, but as students, you're protected under the institution. This is a U.S. institution. We haven't really run into any situations where a student is not eligible for some sort of scholarship or grant or fellowship because of their citizenship status.
And then my other question is, like for example, if we were looking for money to fund our competition that we have every year, we give out students, it's for students, like it pays for everything that we do, and then we give student cash awards. Is there a way to find money that we could use in that way? Because I was just confused how to...
There's lots of programs out there, and it's going to depend on the program. You'll have to read the specifics of the solicitation as to what they allow for. But there's so many education grants out there that fund students. They use the stipends for student education. Think about all the NSF REU programs and participants that are going to be in your programs, gaining the knowledge or gaining the education experience. Those are usually education grants where you are educating the students in the community or whatever. And the way you would budget for that is they are participants under your grant.
Okay.
Yeah. But you would have to look for grants that kind of speak to that are more education focused, especially if they're going to be, participating in your program or in your...
Okay, yeah, that's what, because it seemed like a lot of the grants were for individuals, so I was wondering how we could, as an institution.
Most of the grants on here are actually for research and for the institution.
Okay.
You just have to look at the eligibility. So academic institution is, people like to fund institutions because they know how to allocate the resources rather than funding individuals. And we'll speak about how funding individuals, that's what the foundation's database is. But big sponsors out there want to fund institutions because they have the staff, support services, the facilities, which is why we have, overhead costs, because we can support research here. We can support people doing good work here and fund them appropriately for that and keep track of it and report on it. So,
So most of the opportunities through Pivot are geared towards institutions?
yes, they're geared towards academic institutions, nonprofits. It does have a lot of what's in the foundation's database where they will fund individuals for artistic pursuits. You'll just find probably less of that.
But nonprofits are also...
Yes, they're here.
it could be an ensemble or,
Yes.
since we have like Juliana, is one of our students, who she's launching her own nonprofit now.
Mhm.
So it's not an educational institution, but it is a nonprofit. that
Right.
She's launching, which is registered 501c3 and all
And you'll
that.
see that a lot of them say either or. If
Oh,
you're an academic
okay.
institution or a nonprofit. We actually have a nonprofit here through Advancement. They are a 501c3. They can accept funds on behalf of an individual or a nonprofit.
Oh, wow.
But the funds are distributed differently, so we can get into that later.
So you're talking about a potential fiscal sponsorship opportunity that UNT could provide to students, in the sense that if they get something that is for an individual, but that it has a restriction, like you have to be affiliated with an institution, this nonprofit that you're describing, that is UNT nonprofit,
It's
could
Advancement.
could accept that donation on behalf of the student?
We would need to consult with Susan Holmes in the foundations and
Okay.
in the Advancement office.
Okay.
But either the student would apply as their own nonprofit outside of the institution, or it would go through them. Either
Because
or.
lots of students have these projects, but they are not yet a nonprofit, because it takes a lot of time and legal work, and,
Right,
you know, it's not an easy thing to set up your own nonprofit.
right,
But they may have, you know, business plans and projects to launch
right.
ensembles or whatever schools, whatever the business plans, they're putting together plans all the time.
Right,
But they need that sort of fiscal sponsorship in order to raise funds
right,
quickly, right? Before they go on and become their own entities, yeah, you know.
right.
But, so,
These are good questions. I don't have the answer to that right now, but we can definitely find the answers within Advancement, which is a nonprofit within our institution, and just dig a little bit more and see what that would look like.
that's interesting.
Yes.
Great.
So let's move on to the Profiles tab. So this is basically what I just showed you, where by college, it houses all the profiles for faculty. Now, what Pivot editors do is anytime we get new faculty at our institution every semester, they go ahead and create a shell for them with stuff that's out there on the internet. So whether their website, their CV, publications that they have, and they go ahead and upload it for us. So that's kind of nice. We don't have to do it for every single person that comes and leaves campus. They're doing all that behind the scenes. So this is pretty much up to date at all times. And you can look at all the faculty within the College of Business. You can look at it for your areas as well. And I showed you earlier how, this even has students. And you can put your personal website on there, affiliations, communities. I encourage you all to set up your profile as best as you can, because people can see you all over the world that use Pivot. And this tells you people who are not within the institution that can potentially work with you. So that's interesting too. Instead of going to websites of people that you hear about, now you have a ton of contacts of people using Pivot, and you can see what they're working on. Let me get back to a funding opportunity. I'll do that in a minute. But so one thing I've done, especially for any of you undergraduate students, you're all graduate students, okay. Well, if you had any undergraduate students who are looking for research mentors, I've created a list down here of profiles of people who are willing to take undergraduates in their labs, which is kind of rare. I mean, it's difficult to take on undergraduate students and teach them. So I've created a list of people who have historically worked with undergraduate students.
Oh, good.
So that's the Profiles tab. If you have any questions about that, let me know. But the third tab I wanted to show you was Papers Invited. This gives you information about calls for papers, the deadlines for upcoming conferences, scholarly journal issues that they're calling for. So this is where you can publish, present, your research at worldwide conferences. You no longer have to rely on people to give you that information or belong to an association where, they're having a conference. You can see what conferences are going on and apply to them yourself.
Oh, by topic.
By topic, by department. And this is a brand new tab, so they're constantly updating it, but this is a worldwide So you can see that they're having conferences in, let's see where this one is. Let's see. It lists it by the conference name, who the organizers are, what language the conference is in, the eligibility, research scholars and students, conference location, it's in Hong Kong. So this gives you a picture of what is going to be presented at the conference, when the deadline is, where the website is, when the calls for submission deadlines are. So this is just a ton of information provided at your fingertips now that maybe we all relied on faculty or professors or word of mouth or just going to random websites. This houses it all in a pretty condensed way. So do you have any other questions about Pivot before we move on to the Foundations database? And what
So I just put in the papers invited, I put music business, and like 42 results came, out of which, from the conferences I know, none of them are there. So do you
Okay.
know why this could be? Like, I see a ton of other conferences that have the words maybe in it, but they're not really, is this very like
If they
broad encompassing database or?
yes, but if it has passed, potentially they've taken it down if it's not within a certain period of time, or it's just a matter of they haven't, this is a new tab, it's just a matter of they have not updated it yet. So definitely, by all means, use this database, but if there's something that's not in here, don't use it as a catch-all. Or let me know, and I always am giving feedback to the Pivot support team saying, hey, there's not an education tab for conferences, like just a straight education tab. There's education technology, there's this, that. They're working on it. This is the newest tab where they're constantly updating it. But it's also not going to show you things that just happened. They're showing you things 90 days out or 120 days out. So they'll take things down that have just happened. So you're not seeing things like, oh, I missed that conference, or but yes, feedback is great. I'm constantly letting them know what they need to update and what they need to add. Yes.
I have a question about like using the keywords like effectively. So when I was using this, like if I would put in a word like music or whatever, and then I would put in the location as Texas, it has it as Texas/United States.
Right.
So you can't do just Texas. So if I'm getting results that are outside of Texas, does that mean that there are none? It's just like rerouting me back into the United States?
So I think you probably don't want to do that, because when you do that, you're saying you're excluding people from funding you unrestricted. They have this like unrestricted tab where the funders is basically saying, I don't care where you're from, unrestricted. If you say only Texas, I think that narrows it down too much.
Which is like not effective to do that really.
Right. And are you looking for only funders in Texas? Like
Well-
local funding?
Possibly, but not exclusively.
Yeah, so I think it can get confusing with that. I've had that question before where they say, I only want to see Texas. Well, what do you want to only see in Texas? Funders in Texas? Well, that's kind of a small pool of people. And I don't know if this would be the best source to do that, because they're not tagging sponsors as being from a certain location. It's like a lot of them are national funders. There are some state funders, but I would leave it open. I would leave it unrestricted. Yeah, unrestricted is the best, because they're not going to be funding only at one location. Any other questions? So I encourage all of you to use Pivot. If you have any problems with it, or you see something that's not right, or something's not being included that's fairly obvious or fairly well known, send it to me and I'll forward it on to the Pivot support editors. Like I said, they're constantly updating things, and that's their full-time job. So I like to send them work. So the next thing, which I'm not as familiar with, and I wish that Jen Rowe would have been able to be here today, but she had a family emergency, is the Foundation Center database. Have you guys ever used this in the Eagle Commons library you have?
Yesterday.
Okay, what was your experience with it?
Let's see, I took some notes. I felt like, I things, it looks like with the free account that we can get on campus, you can't access it off campus.
Right.
You could search grant makers and you could search 990 forms, but I couldn't search grants or search companies. Those were like two tabs that it seemed like I didn't have access to.
Yeah.
And it was kind of hard to navigate the site a little bit, and it was a lot of government stuff. I felt it was more focused on that.
So the grants or the foundation's database is very different than Pivot. It can help faculty, researchers, students, and nonprofit organizations find grant opportunities, but it's not as easy to use, like you said. It's not as robust, and the reason why is because they only allow one license one area to use it in. It's like high security. You can only use it in the Eagle Commons library. It protects, I guess, the funders' information and what they're trying to fund. It's not publicly accessible usually, which means there might be more unique opportunities in there and more specific opportunities in there. I'm not sure why they don't make it more accessible to campus, but you can access it in only the Eagle Commons library, and the librarian general can help you find it. But let's see. So it's more helpful in funding individuals, is what is my understanding, and working in the community. So the money would not come through the institution necessarily. We have a lot of folks coming in off the street, or nonprofits coming in to use it to try and find partners within UNT, people within UNT to help them with a project in the community. So I think that's what it's for mostly, is to do more partnerships. So it does have over 120,000 foundations in there, and corporate donors, grant making, public charities. They have over $3.2 million in recent grants, over 500,000 indexed trustees, officer and donor names, 54 search fields, grant maker profiles. So if you have any questions about the Foundation's database, definitely reach out to Jennifer Rowe, and that I've given you her contact information, and provided you with a video tutorial to kind of speak more to it. Oftentimes I'll find that Pivot has a lot of the information that are in the Foundation's database, but if it's not publicly accessible, it won't be in there. Did you have a question?
I was gonna say, when I did the foundation website, I found it useful to search winners of grants, like other ensembles that are similar to mine, to see what I could apply for.
Yeah.
Because it was so confusing to me to find specific things that I started doing that, like searching other
Past
ensembles.
funded things?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's good. Thank you for that.
So how would you do it, Juliana? You would put in what would you search?
I was trying to type it in. I'm sorry, I'm very unfamiliar with this database, I'm not gonna lie.
And there's a video tutorial on how to use this database, you said?
Yeah, I gave everybody this, and it comes with these. I'm just trying to enter the,
Just for the purposes of providing that information to our video viewers,
Yes.
let's open that video tutorial on another tab when you're done with this,
yeah.
just to show where they can go to kind of see more information about this database. I think it's Eagle, not Easter.
Yeah. Slash funding.
This can be like a maze, really.
It really
I
can.
can see why it can be very confusing.
And I do apologize that I'm not as familiar with this funding network.
Oh, no,
but-
that's fine.
Let's go ahead and look for that video tutorial.
You can just open it on another tab.
The video?
Yeah, so that, just to see the URL, what the address is.
I would need to type, I would need to find it on their website. I put it in here, but it looks like it didn't even, it wasn't very smart of me. Let's see, study farming delivery. Funding. we might want to cut this out from the video.
Oh wow, this is only available inside the library in Sycamore Hall?
Yes.
Not even on campus?
No.
You have to be inside the library.
Yeah.
I think you can access it in like a public library too, right?
Yeah, different
That's right.
libraries have it. Yeah, and if you want to know why, I don't know why. It's like, I've asked that question so many times.
That's very limiting.
It's very limiting, and I don't understand the strategy behind that, so. All right, well, I apologize. I can't even find the video. What I can do is, if we want to,
But isn't it that URL that you provided?
well,
Guides.library.unit.
I did, I'd have to go back to my computer and actually pull up the URL.
This one, right?
Oh, that one?
Isn't that the video?
No, that's not the video.
Oh,
No. I was trying to find it for you guys.
that's just a website?
Yeah. So let's see if it's there. /fans.
Because we have to be inside Sycamore Hall, you think it won't show us?
I don't know.
Wow.
It's top secret. I can get you guys more information if you want
Maybe
to.
it's worth the trip.
Right.
Maybe
And
it's
Jen
back to
wrote,
the database.
and Jinro teaches classes in the foundation or in the Eagle Commons Library, and she shows the class how to use this. So how about this? We get with Jen, or we let Jen know that y'all are interested in seeing the full functionality of the database on site.
That would be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll set that up.
Thank you.
But thank you everybody for, sorry about the little blunder at the end, but
No,
thank
that's
you
fine.
everybody for having me. Does anybody have any other general questions or questions about Pivot? Yeah.
How is Pivot funded?
We pay for it. It's a license. So ProQuest provides all the back-end data and we pay for a subscription.
Just through the university?
The VPR's office, the office that I work for, it's a license that we pay for every 3 years.
What's VPN?
Vice President of Research, sorry.
And so the team that updates the website?
Work for ProQuest, the education company.
Okay.
Yeah, and we pay to just use that information.
Cool.
And they store it for us too, like our own profiles for our own institution, they store all that information. So, yeah.
So as far as looking for funding in the Pivot, if we can go back, yeah, we have that. Would you say these are all mostly nonprofit type funding opportunities for like nonprofit organizations, or are there any like corporation type funding opportunities in the for-profit realm?
Yeah, it's everything. And you can narrow it by even the funder, what you're looking for. So I can show you.
Yeah, why don't we see an example if you don't mind?
Let's do music since it's more broad. 434 results. Look on the left-hand side, top sponsor types. 125 of those are nonprofit, 82 of those are private, professional societies, 70 of those academic institutions, state provinces, etc. So you can just click on those and see which ones. So it's saying of those 425, that's how they're, and obviously there's not 425 there, but you can keep going on down.
So, but these are mainly driven, so for example, if you're doing a for-profit business, if you're a student and you're trying to raise funds or to find maybe sponsors, angel investors, people who would be interested in supporting your venture on a for-profit, type setting.
Right.
Is there a way to filter the search in this database that it wouldn't have a restriction that this has to be, a non-profit thing, but that it's actually for for-profit? I mean, is there a way to filter the
I don't know.
the qualifications on that?
This is grants. I don't know for profit. I don't know exactly what you would.
Because a lot of times grants are more on the non-profit realm, right? They're just in research.
What are you trying to do? I guess that's what you have to ask yourself. What are you trying to do? Because sponsors want to give you money for something back.
Right.
So if you're trying to get money for your venture,
Yes.
you wouldn't use something like this. You're not trying to get money to, give something back necessarily. For-profit means you're starting a business, you're starting a company. This is not for investors, this is
Okay,
not for,
that was my question.
right.
There's no sort
There's no
of
investors on here.
fundraising opportunity database
Right,
for corporations who would sponsor a for-profit
Right.
type thing. This is
Right.
mostly for,
education, research, that type of thing. Right.
see.
Scholarships, fellowships, academic type work,
I see,
yeah,
I see.
that would be different. Anything else? Yes.
I have another question about refining the search. So let's say you were refining the search to a certain type of person or group. So like specifically, if you were trying to find money that was available for an established nonprofit and you click that, I've noticed that kind of limits the results. So if you didn't click that, is it possible that there would be grants that would be, applicant type could vary and there may be more grants? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or is that just a waste of time if you don't filter the applicant type?
It depends. So if you're the applicant and you're going to be applying as a nonprofit, you would want to include that. But if you're not sure, you might be applying as a student, you might be applying as a nonprofit, I would leave that open. That way you can see all of the different results. Because, it'll only show you what you specify. So if you're not sure what you're going to be applying as, I would leave it just open.
So what advice would you give the students who are just trying to figure out how to look for grants, and what are the steps that you would recommend they pursue before they go into this database, or just, are there any tips that you would recommend that they should kind of narrow down as far as strategy or purpose or goal for their venture, whether it's a research project or a travel? You said that there's also travel funding opportunities.
Right.
What would be the easiest way for them to kind of have a game plan before they go into this massive database with so
Right.
much information there?
Right.
Do you have any tips on that?
Yes. So first, kind of figure out why you're doing this. Do you just want money? Are you trying to fund a specific project? Is the money not available within your department? One thing I tell students is have a faculty mentor, which most all of you do, or a cohort. Talk to them about what you're doing and see if there's local available funds. Because if you need $200 or $500 to go to a conference, it's not wise to get on here and try and compete with other people when you can just go to your department or your chair. Work with your faculty mentor. A lot of you will be doing smaller projects, especially if it's for dissertation or thesis or performance. And work with them first before you start using the database. The database is a great tool, but it's external funding, so you're competing with everyone else. Unless you have a giant research idea and proposal that you want to be working on with a PI about a new theory, about a new, it's hard for me to speak to music.
What's a PI?
A principal investigator.
Okay.
So when you're doing research, and I don't know if this applies to music,
Okay.
when you're doing research, you'll be working under a PI, a principal investigator, and applying for a lot of the research as a grad student under them, being employed on the grant under them. So I don't know if that's applicable in music, but working with somebody, within your field first is a good strategy. Finding out what you want the money for, because most people are not in the business of handing out money unless they're getting deliverables, unless they're getting something back, getting research back, getting results back. So think about those things before getting on here. So I hope this tool is good for you guys to use and with what you're trying to do.
So one of the assignments that they're doing for this class is researching foundation opportunities for an existing local symphony, the Louisville Lake Symphony.
Sure.
And one of the big parts of their research is looking for funding opportunities that would be, likely candidates for this organization. So could we do just an example with you here, which is because they're going to continue doing it on their own, but I think it would be helpful And I don't know if any of you have already done this on your own. Have any of you kind of played around with researching for the Louisville Lake?
Yes.
You have? So how was your experience doing that?
Well, I was kind of doing it as you were explaining it. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, but I searched music,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was trying Texas, but you said that was no good. That's why I asked about that.
Okay.
So then I changed it to unrestricted,
Yeah.
and then I changed it as the applicant type as nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I'm only getting 20 results in that setting, but a lot of them are kind of exotic.
So can we pull it up? So for example, they need to look for grant opportunities for the Louisville Lake Symphony. Okay, that's one of their assignments. And
Okay.
find out which would be good foundations, which would be good candidates. So first of all, what would be the keywords that you would use, guys, for a search like this?
Or what about symphony?
We could do symphony, but
Can we just type in their name?
type in what?
Their levels, you know, with it so?
What would be the criteria that you would use to find foundations that would sponsor the Louisville Lake Symphony? What type of foundations? Like, how could they go about setting an initial search?
I would just look under, so when you're doing your original search, I would type in music, because that has something to do with it.
Okay.
And then I would go to the sponsor tab, and I would literally click nonprofit. If you're looking, are you looking for money coming from a nonprofit?
No, not necessarily.
No,
The
but
money
the applicant is the nonprofit.
is a nonprofit, and they're a symphony that they need to raise funds.
So your applicant, so you are a nonprofit.
Yes.
Let's just see what happens. 141 results. So then you would just filter through this and see if it's applicable. Yes.
But is that unrestricted, or is that like location bound?
You can refine it again and then just make sure you click under location
But location is for the organizations that are going to sponsor, not for.
for
Yeah.
the activity
Oh,
location.
activity. Oh, can we
Yes.
try that? Let's see what
Yes.
happens. So let's put.
Unrestricted.
Well, no, because we want to say that the activity is going to be in Texas. Or is that not?
But you
good?
don't want, I mean,
Because this is for a local symphony. So
okay.
they're going to be doing, you know, it's for
I would
them
leave
to-
it unrestricted because the foundation or the trust that's funding you, they may not care where you're located. They may just say, oh, you have a great idea.
Oh, I see.
You
Okay.
wouldn't want to be restricted to Texas.
I see. Okay.
As the applicant.
Okay.
Because they're going to be taking applications usually from all over.
I
So,
see.
so I can see how this could be a little bit confusing, and this might not be the best tool for that. The foundations database might be the best tool for that. So,
Why? Why that one better than?
because it's only foundations that are sponsoring. Yeah. So this gives you 20 results
Okay.
that you can sort through for various amounts of money.
But some of them are like batch presentations abroad,
Right.
and some more exotic things.
Mhm.
So is there a way to find any like sponsoring entities that are like in Texas? I know you said it's not great, but is there a way to like circumvent where you can?
Sponsoring entities in Texas. So only entities in Texas sponsoring what?
I don't orchestra. Only maybe because they'd be more interested in like investing in this community orchestra because this business is also like in the community.
Local.
I think the foundations database is probably going to be better because,
Oh, yeah?
like we said, it's local, community type money working together
Yes.
with individuals. That might be the best tool for you. This is very broad. This is different, you know,
I see.
than what you're looking for. So it's actually good that that I spoke a little bit about this, so I can't speak to it in depth. That Jen is going to probably be able to help you guys find that money.
I see.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions?